answer?
Can you hear me now?
can just swap the... Okay, welcome folks. Good afternoon. Oh, come on, is that all you can manage? Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Listen guys, it's a privilege to be part of this event today, so thank you very much for making the effort and taking the time out of your busy days that we know to be here with us today. You're amongst a family who are committed to road safety, and of course we need people like you to partner with us. Just by way of a background, we remember in 2022 we didn't have a media launch, but what we did have was the opportunity of introducing this concept, and the inaugural concept of Fleet Safety Awards was overwhelmingly supported. And I must indicate, if it wasn't as a result of the partners who have remained on board for this year, then we certainly wouldn't have pulled it off to the extent that we did. But please remember, we did that during just coming out of COVID, so social distancing was a bit of a problem. And as a result, we could only accommodate 80 people, I think. We were oversubscribed by 10%. That was besides the virtual audience, which today, by the way, is also a hybrid event. But 2023, so welcome to our 2023, if we can just have the slides there. I'd like to start off with this quote, Daniel Libeskind. And he says, life is not just a series of calculations and a sum of a total of statistics. It's about experience, it's about participation, it is something more complex and more interesting than what is obvious. And I kind of feel the same way about road safety, because he was an architect. There's some well-known landmarks that he was responsible for designing, but he's also a professor. And when you have a look at that, what we're talking about is participation. Because unless we all combine, and I'm sure you'll agree that notwithstanding the best efforts of government, we don't see very much of a reduction in our fatalities on the road. And therefore it's up to you and I to do something about it. So welcome to our new year. We're going to just go through some of the things, but before I do that, let's just do a quick recap. In 2022, we had over 110 entries, and bear in mind that it was an inaugural concept. This year, and as a personal challenge to you, we would like to see 500. Okay, and that's dependent on you making contact with your contacts and spreading the word. Look at them, the entries that we had there. We had the finalist in the best company, and there's two you will recognize. There's some reputable names. And what's nice about dealing with those organizations, they're committed to road safety in not only in word, but in deed. And in fact, they can teach us a few lessons. So there was the best company. And then we also had the best fleet manager. And I'll share with you at the latter part what made us decide to incentivize this position. Because in many instances, they work long and hard, tirelessly with very little recognition and no reward. And we would like to recognize them for the role that they play. Last year's winner, Jonathan, is here. So at the end, we're going to ask him to just give a short chat with us, because I'd like to know, and I'm sure you would like to know, what he got out of it personally and what the company got out of it that he represented. So let's have a look where we are. If you page down to the 6th of June, it indicates it's open entries and distribute qualifying criteria. So we will show you, after the guys have had some chats with us, what the process is. So it's ready, it's going to be online, and we can start getting persons to enter. As I indicated, the challenge is 500 participants, but we trust that with our headline partners, that's Santam, and we'll hear from them shortly, Santam Heavy Haulage Insurance, and then Castrol. Both important role players that are responsible for looking in some way or other at transportation on our roads. So please, can I ask you to give them a big hand? Thank you. We're going to open up our session. They've been limited to 2 minutes each, so I'm sure that you'll be pleased to hear that. Anton? No, okay. Can I just give you a brief rundown on Anton's bio? It's very short. He joined Santam in 1994 as a service consultant in Middelburg. Kan jy nog die taal praat? Yeah, okay. In 2013, he is appointed as the head of heavy haulage. 29 years of experience, and all of that time with Santam. Before that, he was specializing in general insurance. I'm sure you'd like to know from Santam why they're with us here today and what they expect to get out of it, and I trust that it motivates some of you as well. So Anton, if I can hand over to you, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Eugene. Appreciate it. Very glad to be here, but I have to be here. It's my office. So, and the rest of the Santam guys. We have an AV that I'm really very proud of, and I want to show you. So we're going to start with that, and I'm going to sit down again for a couple of minutes until it's done. Do I press play? They should press play.
Santam Heavy Haulage is the leading heavy commercial vehicle insurer in South Africa. We understand that owning a fleet of trucks is one of the biggest financial investments, and transporting goods means navigating risks on and off the road. That's why partnering with a reputable insurer who understands the challenges transport operators face is important. We offer innovative insurance solutions for all heavy commercial vehicles. Whether you are a small or large fleet company, we have the right solution for you. And when losses occur, you want to have the peace of mind knowing that you are with the insurer that has the financial strength to settle your claim and get you back up in business. Over the years, we have been able to continually position and improve our products to adjust to the changing business and risk landscape that our clients operate in. We have unparalleled industry knowledge, size, experience, insights, and a countrywide broker network. Our insurance solutions are customized to meet the unique needs of clients. That's why over 30% of heavy commercial transport owners in South Africa trust us to protect their fleets. Our flexible underwriting allows us to expand and adapt our solutions to meet our clients' ever-changing needs. With over 100 years experience, we understand what's important to our clients and the risks they face. Our strength lies in partnerships. Specialist brokers are part and parcel of a winning relationship between a client and a reputable insurer. The complexity of the heavy haulage business requires specialist expertise fleet owners can only get from a broker.
As a big transport company like us, it's very important to have a reliable insurer. Santam is a very good insurance company that we've been for 10 years now, and the reason we chose them is we don't have any hassles with them. They're a very large company and they don't have any problems coming out or talking to us and sending brokers through to work with us.
Our clients trust us to be with them for the long haul. And every day we continue to deliver on our promise of insurance, good and proper.
Great. Let's give a hand for that. We're very proud of our marketing team. There's on our Santam YouTube channel, there's a second AV, and on that some of our staff, Natalie is on there. So do yourself a favor, there's already a couple of hits on that. We'd like to have a couple more. So yeah, thanks. How's it, Patrick? Good to see you. Patrick is the only person that will always ask questions, and we've known each other for a very long time. The longer I know you, the easier the questions get. So. When last did you have a haircut? Most people don't recognize me. That's the idea. Okay. Patrick, I only have 2 minutes, so let's start. So I'm just going to go through a bit of stats, or not. Let's go back. There it is. Okay, and this was a study released by RTMC, one of our partners, or one of the institutions we partner with. And it was specifically released with the aim on road safety. So it's interesting to have a look at it. This is specific to the heavy haulage industry and the bus industry, and it's stats from 2018. and up until the end of December 2022. So there's just over 4,000 fatal crashes involving buses and HEVs. It's interesting to see that 82% of that were actually traceable within the e-native system. So the remaining 12% was either errors on the RTMC side or obviously heat-and accidents where you don't have the information. If you compare that to the numbers we have on the motor industry, it's way different because so this yet again, and we'll have speakers later on, it's just proving that the industry and the heavy haulage industry and the trucking industry in South Africa is managed by the people in the industry. And it's closer to legislation than we have otherwise. So obviously, and it's based on our stats as well. Most of it, or 20% of these accidents occur in Gauteng and KZN, and that's mostly where we transport back and forth. Interesting to note is that 35% of these vehicles are registered in Gauteng. I was quite surprised. Yeah, interestingly enough, the report is available, the full report, and the data contained in this report is eye-opening. So do yourself a favor, go to RTMC, the website, and go download the report. So if you look at trucks, most of the accidents occur over weekends, and it's between 6 o'clock and 10 at night. Most of our policies have a limitation, or not a limitation, but a penalty excess for driving after hours. So, and then buses obviously between 5 and 8 over weekends, same period. So obviously, as that's quite simple. Yet again, compared to our stats, most of these accidents, or a big percentage of them, will happen on the N3, Harry Smith, and followed by Musina and Van Rieenen. Obviously, we know because of Van Rieenen, there's a lot of accidents, especially when it comes to this time of the year, change of season. There's a lot of mist on the roads, slippery conditions now with the changing seasons. We're experiencing a lot of rainfall in Gauteng or this area in this time of the year that we usually don't. And the sad part is 35% of all these fatalities are pedestrians, either causing the accident or being involved in it. And the monetary loss estimated at about 37.2 billion rand for this time period. That's a lot of money. Get to it later, but Santam paid a share of that as well. So quickly about Santam. We're the leading general insurer in South Africa with a market share exceeding 24%, annualized premium of about 35.5 billion rand. We insure 80 of the top 100 listed companies on the JSE. Stop me if you have any questions. I tend to go very fast, but I only have 2 minutes, and I exceeded that by 10 already. So over 1 million policyholders in South Africa. And I think the secret behind the Santam Group is our diverse risk pool. We specialize in general insurance, but we have, other than that, we have commercial, we have agricultural, and we have specialists, of which Santam Heavy Haulage is part of. And it's a well-diversified business. In the specialist, we have corporate, we have engineering, we have marine, we have aviation, all the mainstream, and then you have a few niche insurers, high net worth clients, and all of that. And then obviously we have our alternative risk transfer structures. That's where you have self-insurance and you have fund structures. Okay, more specific to Santam Heavy Haulage. That's myself and my team. Hopefully you met most of them. All the ladies there, and there's one guy somewhere. I don't know. Importance is we have a lot of ladies. Okay, some of you, Shanae, you'll know. You were one of the first, but we predominantly men a couple of years ago. Things have improved a lot since we're only employing ladies. Anyway, okay, in our minds, we're the leader in the segment, and if you look at insurance, we mostly based leadership and a market leader on the premium you write. And that's a fair way of judging whether you're number one or not. So we agree that should be a benchmark, the premium. But I think in years of late, we've decided that we should do more than just be technically leading the market and being experts on those issues. We'd like to get involved more in the community and the clients we insure. So that was a strategic move we made a while ago, Ishmael and myself. And yeah, that's hence today and numerous days we share with numerous organizations. So obviously on Santam's side, and what we We do from the owner-drivers. We insure owner-drivers straight through to your larger fleets and anything in between with very specific structures. We try and accommodate most clients and work around structures. And especially now, the insurance industry is facing a huge challenge when it comes to reinsurance, and because of incidents like the floods and political unrest. So we need to tailor-make the solutions we can provide covers. Okay. So we were talking about the losses that the industry suffered last year, and these are, we paid just in claims about 650 million rand, Santam haulage. That's excluding the Santam larger group. Our motor book, we paid close to 11 billion on claims, but a lot of these will include the floods we had in KZN. That was a fair percentage. I think in our book, it was about 23 million that we recovered from our reinsurers because of the floods. And our aim is to obviously provide sustainable insurance cover. We don't necessarily compete on price, but we make sure we add value to our clients' assets. Okay. Like I said, or alluded to earlier on, we're partnering with the likes of Eugene and Master Drive, RTMC, Fleetwatch. Fortunately, you all presented here. Just on that, the last session we had with Eugene was in December or November, just for the Christmas season. So I didn't do it under duress. We signed a very friendly commitment to not drink and drive. So obviously I've stopped drinking. I got it wrong. I thought so I need to have a discussion with you, because I still have other vices in life that we can stop doing. Okay, so I think the last slide we have here is what we're really focusing on. And this has been a journey. It's been a very interesting journey since Ishmael and myself basically took over the business in 2008. We spent a lot of time on truck driver wellness, and this is still the beginning stage of it. Obviously, there's a lot still to be done, and it's not something we can do in isolation, and that's why we partner with industry leaders. Okay, this is just some information and stats we get from these driver wellness days and other. So, and then you can go through it. I'm really not going to go repeat that. It's available. But we all know, especially with drivers, the risks they face is immense. As a general rule, they're not very healthy, and it's because of the driving conditions and because of the pressures and all of that. I remember some of the earlier days we had some clinic staff attend these sessions, and we still do blood tests, do all the BMI tests and all of that. And numerous of these drivers are actually not fit to be able to drive a vehicle at that stage because of blood pressure and all of that. And it's not necessarily the driver's fault. They're severely under pressure. Okay, so that's still more or less that. There's some pictures of us sitting there next to the road. So we have these wellness days normally close to a weighbridge where it's safe for the vehicles to pull off the road. And it's voluntary. We don't force anybody to stop. And we'll interview the drivers, and that's the sad part of it. When you have Ishmael, my colleague was referring to it, we have interactions with drivers where they tell you they haven't eaten for a day or two or whatever. They're left to their own devices, and you get a lot of these foreign national drivers. They get a very limited amount of money to come into the country and to get out again. So, and the biggest concern of most of these drivers are the hours they work, Patrick, you know that, and then missing their families on the roads year on end. So that's a big aim of us, and yet again, reason hence our partnering with numerous organizations to try and do something to the industry and change it a little bit. Some more pictures over there. Having a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. That was in the Western Cape. My passport expired, so I'm not allowed to go to the Western Cape, not on those pictures. And my ex-wife is still there, but anyway. Okay, so that's it from our side. On my side, any questions? Awesome. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Eugene. No, not at all. We have a set time, and it's 11 and 5. Is it correct? Anybody in my team? So that's just a penalty time. So any accident occurs in that time slot, we add a penalty excess. And I can't remember what it is. 10 and 4. So between 10 and 4. So it's just... Yeah, so that's a double-edged sword, as you know, because now the driver's forced to stop. But once you stop next to the road, there's new risks. Now somebody's going to cut your sails or your tops and steal the freight and whatever, so steal your tires and all of that. So, but yeah, it's more or less a standard industry or insurance standard in the market. We have the penalty excess. Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Anton. We appreciate the fact that you see the need to partner. And the more you partner with us, the happier we'll be. But just a point of coincidence, you started Santam Heavy Haulage at 2008. That's when we took over the Master Drive brand in 2008. It was originally an Avis company. But the holding company and Master Drive, the name, actually is 24 years of age in May. So we celebrated our 24th anniversary. And it's good to be around people who've been around for a long time. But now let's move on. We next have our guest speaker from Castrol, Jennifer Hayes. Where are you, Jennifer? Oh, behind there, all right. Let me just tell you about her. Now, what you probably don't know, she's got an engineering background. I have pictures of her working a lathe, welding, and things like that. But let's talk about her current role as Marketing Director for Africa for Castrol. And you've had over 10 years of experience in business to business, all in global companies. So I'm quite sure with that perspective, you're going to give us some input and also your local involvement, another 10 years in the sales and personal development. So Jennifer, over to you.
I don't have
You
slides.
don't, okay.
Thank you. How's everyone doing today? Everyone's okay? So I have to put these on so I can see you. No, I mean to see my notes. So I've got quite a long session to talk about, but I thought first I'd just check who's here for the first time for these awards. Almost everyone. Cool. And you're going to be here next year. Oh, I'm going to come and check next year if you're going to be here. Okay. So. A little bit about Castrol. We don't have any slides to share with you today. Our video didn't want to play, but we had a video from one of our VPs talking about safety and road safety. A little bit about Castrol. We belong to BP. Sorry, I need to speak up. You can't hear me? Okay, can you hear me at the back? Okay. So a little bit about Castrol. We are part of BP in Castrol Africa falls under BP South Africa. So our base is here in Johannesburg, and we have the pleasure of being #1 provider of lubricants to passenger vehicles, right? In the commercial vehicle space, we are making great inroads. We have some of our team members here from commercial vehicles as well, and they understand what safety is when it comes to commercial vehicles. So something that's big for us is safety. It's key for our business. We've also got it down as a business objective. And you can understand fuels, lubricants, transporting these, it's a big deal. And it requires safety all around. So I'm going to interchange with cars and with trucks because the impact of an accident from a truck also impacts passengers in a car, also involves what could happen to people on the road. People, in our country, people walk on the highway. Yeah, that's just a fact. And what could happen to them? And we don't want anything tragic to happen to them. So today, I'm going to let you know why we are here as Castrol, okay? The biggest risk we face in South Africa as BP is road accidents, right? So safety is very big for us because driving conditions are not optimal. Vehicles accidents happen, breakdowns happen, and it's all about how we deal with them and how we deal with them safely and to make sure they don't reoccur and to ensure that it's not fatal. Yeah? Every year, drivers, passengers get killed or seriously injured. And Eugene mentioned this earlier on. We all need to take responsibility. It's not just up to the government. The government says, this is what we would like to prioritize. But how do we take that as citizens and make something of that? And this is what this is all about. The Road Safety Awards is all about this. It's taking whatever we know needs to happen and helping to change the behavior so that it does happen. And we have safety for everyone on the road and safety for everyone sitting here. Okay? So if we think about it, this is a serious issue and it warrants corporates to play a big role in this. If we don't play that role in changing the thinking around safety, it won't happen, and we have to do it together. So recognizing that driving is a high risk activity, we've partnered with Master Drive so that we can contribute towards the focus on road safety. We are also helping our communities to gain exposure to what the impact would be of serious or any other accidents on the roads. So the way we see it is safety is a shared responsibility between all stakeholders, government, Santam. I actually have my insurance with you. Santam, yes. And companies like Castrol. And Master Drive has brought all of these companies together so that we can help to put this focus on road safety. So to us, what would be the objective of these awards? So we think there are three objectives. The first one is to identify and promote road safety as a gold standard across South Africa, which is great, yeah? And this is done by developing personal buy-in and creating the belief that benefits make it more than just a tick box exercise. So we've got to be serious about it. We can't just say, this is something we're going to do. We actually have to act it out. So this is the first of its kind, and well done to recognizes all industries and organizations for their road safety efforts. And I suspect it will soon be the leading road safety award in South Africa. And I hope we go beyond that to Southern Africa. And Eugene, I hope you have a vision for Africa, because we play a role in Africa, so I hope that's a vision for you. And our second objective is to reward companies, or we think the second objective is to reward companies committed to improving road safety and their efforts to continue bringing about a change on our roads. And that's what we need, the behavior change, so that we can drive safety and that every person goes home at the end of the day. Something that we've done at BP in the past is put up pictures of our kids when we're driving. Why? Because you know you're going to get home to that person. You need to make sure that you are safe on the road. So at the end of the day, you see this child or your children, or your wife, or your dog or cat, so that you've got their picture up, so that you know you're going to reach them at the end of the day. The reason why Castrol has chosen to become involved in the Fleet Safety Awards, because we see it as a change in behavior, and we can help to effect the change in the behavior. What I heard earlier on is Fleet Managers Award, and I thought, wow, one company that wins this, one fleet manager that wins this, they've put in practices in place, safety practices. And these practices could become a standard for other companies to follow, to become better, so that we can all share best practice on how to be safe on the road. And we think as Castrol, I mentioned that we are the leading provider of passenger vehicle oils. We think we have enough influence to try and drive behavioral change with vehicles. And that's what we're aiming for in the commercial vehicle space as well. And I have to say we're very pleased to be one of the headline sponsors for this award, because we believe it will inspire and motivate others to show how they could be successful in road safety. So I'm going to conclude now. I've actually got like 10 more pages, but I'm going to release all of you from listening to me. This is an opportunity to bring about the change we need to see on the road. And I hope that you will go out there and talk to other people that you know of, and to all your contacts, as Eugene said, and bring them to this so that we can all help each other to stay safe on the road. So in conclusion, to the fleet managers that are participating, to the companies that are participating, and to anyone who's driving a vehicle on the road. I hope you put safety first and get home to your families all in one piece. Okay, thank you for your time. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you, Jennifer. Maybe just talk to what you said about Africa. Share with you folks. Castrol also partnered with us in the Smola Hill climb, and we made it as one of our objectives because, you know, it's a bunch of rich guys that take their cars up a hill, they break them and they pay for them. There were no persons of color. And so this year, we set about finding a young driver of color, disadvantaged background, who along with Castrol, we put him in the driver's seat. He got to meet Peter Solberg, his hero, and he walked away there having become a better person, not only with the skills that he had gained, but having a brief insight into what we do in motorsport. Next year is South Africa, and the following year is Africa. So we have African aspirations. So please don't be worried. We are getting there. It's just baby steps. But having said that, we also already have entrants from countries. Dar es Salaam, I think in Tanzania, we've had entrants because we distribute a newsletter. And if you don't subscribe to it, please do. It goes to 17,000 people every week. And it talks about issues such as this. Sorry, just before we get on to introducing our next speaker, I'd like you to think of the role that Castrol plays. And in this instance, it's non-political. And you'll notice that in the other partners that we have on board, we're here because of road safety. And that's what makes the difference. So for the purposes of this discussion, I don't care who you work for, but we want to be with you. Next, let's have a look. There's a person, and I must just tell you, I had the privilege of attending the RFA conference 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, because today we have the CEO for the Road Freight Association, which is Gavin Kelly. But I don't know whether you're really good at this, Gavin, or whether it was per chance, but the new minister was there. And, you know, and if I can share this with you, and Gavin, correct me if I'm wrong, she made a comment about the ports, which falls under, you know, Department of Transport, that portfolio. She said, we're even looking at going and finding those people who worked in these ports, they probably retired and the like, and bring them back on to help us sort this mess out. Is that a fair reflection, Gavin? Yeah. So I trust that with a minister as far-sighted as that, and even talking about doing partnerships with companies for ownership of the roads that they travel on. So I don't want to second guess her, but I trust if she stays in the role long enough, we can see some magic happen there. Let's introduce Gavin Kelly, 40 years in the industry. He started off, I think it was some stage in the Department of Transport. He still buries his head in shame when we mention that, but he's been involved in strategic positions. He will be an authority on auto, I imagine, by this point. So he's had input in significant developments in transport. And given the fact that his members, the members of the RFA, see firsthand the problems that we have on roads. I don't know if you saw on Carte Blanche, potholes. They covered, Carte Blanche covered 2,000 kilometers, and really horrific. So let's hear the challenges that the industry has and any other insightful comments that Mr. Kelly would like to share with us, please. Give him a warm round of applause. You know, he parks himself right at the back so he can have this long walk and we all see him. Gavin?
Thanks. Yeah, I can hear you. Is that insightful with a C or an S? Good afternoon, ladies and gents. I'm sure most of you know me. Now and then a guy walks past me in the street and he goes, and he wasn't sure, was it the 1977 version of Police File? Or was it something more modern? Yeah, we had the minister at our convention 2 weeks ago, Eugene, as you said, and what a pleasant experience. You know, when a new minister of transport is appointed, there's always this doomsday and throwing, I think the term is, young people will know, shade. You know, as Scots or Germans, we might have said shite, but it's shade at people. And there's something very important about our current Minister of Transport, and that is that she has probably 9 years of experience in the Department of Transport as a Deputy Minister. Served 2 terms, one under Fix, Fikile Mbalula, and one under Dipuo Peters. And I told her a story that there are a couple of us around who served with the last National Party Minister of Transport. I don't know if you remember who he was and what his name was. His name was Piet Welgemoed. And when I said that, everyone laughed. But Piet Welgemoed was known for one thing. Well, in the department, so I'm now acknowledging that I worked in the department. In the department, his nickname was Piet Bullbar. Because he believed that bull bars killed people. Whether they were fitted to pedestrians, bicycles, cars, or trucks, didn't matter. And his sole thing in life for him was to remove bull bars. And I remember in the old days we had these, am I allowed to give the manufacturer's name? Ford, because I don't think you work with Ford, do you? The old Ford 6-liter Cortina bucky. You remember that bucky? It was 6 liters. 3 liters under the hood, 2 liters of Coke under the passenger seat, and 1 liter of brandy under the driver's seat. And with that, you could get amazing performance from that bucky. But they were also known for these huge bull bars on them. And those of you who were driving at that stage will remember you always were worried about a vehicle with a bull bar. And bull bars are still with us today, and we've gone a long way. And so various ministers have come along with their views about what happens on the road. And some ministers, and there's a young fellow here who's just in from Belfast. Patrick, would you be here? And Patrick will remember how many ministers of transport nailed their colours to the mast on various tickets. And I don't mean bus tickets or train tickets. Train, what's that? And one of them was road safety. And Patrick and I have watched these colours nailed on mast get tattered and torn and faded, taken down, and a new colour flag put up as each sort of next minister or successive minister would come up with new road safety ideals. And road safety is a difficult thing because it has tangibles and intangibles. Is that me making a click, 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 click? Anyway, so there are a couple of things I'd like to speak to, and I can be here all day because I'm practicing to be the new Minister of Transport. So I'll give you my account number afterwards, Philip, where you can make, you're happy with it. Philip, you'll also remember those days on Van Rieenen. Philip Hull was very, very involved with those sorts of things. So safety is important. It's here. Safety is important in all facets of business, and it doesn't matter what sort of business you have, and it doesn't matter which part of safety we're talking about. We have in South Africa a piece of legislation called OHS, Occupational Health and Safety. And boy, does it minutely describe certain things that employees need to do in certain types of industries and certain types of work that they do. And then we have this sort of bland statement in the National Road Traffic Act about safety. Very bland one. It's a very general one. There is a part in the National Road Traffic Act, and that's where I focus as being involved in fleet operators, called Chapter 6 of the National Road Traffic Act, and it's called Operator Fitness. Now, I was around before 93 of 96 when we still had 29 of 89, the Road Traffic Act 29 of 89, and the ordinances before that. And that's as far back as I'm going, otherwise you're going to exactly realize that this is a wig I'm wearing. But in the old days, traffic officers played a huge role in road safety. And actually, the main ambit of our focus in law enforcement was the free and easy flow of traffic. It wasn't the writing of tickets. Interesting point. So safety is important in all aspects of your business. And in the trucking fraternity, in a fleet operation, it is one of the 4 things that can either sink your business or keep your business sustainable. I don't say if you road safety that's going to make your business a success, but it will be part of sustainability, which is part of success. So one of the questions I was going to ask is, so there's an after hours freight time? It's 365. And the congestions that we are seeing today are a huge challenge for us. So right now, as I speak to you, there's a 30-kilometer queue at Limbombo, a 25-kilometer queue at Beitbridge, a 32-kilometer queue at Skilput's Hack, a 41-kilometer queue at Oshuk. This is just to get into the countries around us. It took one of our trucks yesterday 21 hours to get through the border post, from where they had stopped to get through the border post. And one of our biggest problems is this unseen monster. Can I move around? Will it support me? Is this unseen monster called fatigue. And we have spent hundreds of millions of rand trying to sort out what fatigue is. And fatigue is like a mist. It creeps up on you and it grabs you. In the old days in South Africa, you get a thing called a regmaker. You won't remember, you're only 21. But remember that drink that you could drink, and you would drink this and it will keep you awake. We used it when we studied, when we were on patrol, whatever. The only problem with a regmaker is when it turned off, it turned off. It's like a light switch, boom. The important thing is, and Patrick has got a program to try and deal with fatigue. Fatigue is one of the biggest issues. And why is fatigue a big issue? For two things. There's a whole lot of external factors that impede on the efficient operation of trucks. And I'm sure it would do buses as well, on trucks. And you now suddenly find that an 8-hour trip turns into 25 hours. And what are those external factors? Condition of the roads. Doesn't matter whether your truck's overloaded or not. If the road's in bad condition, you are delayed. Obviously, if you're overloaded, it goes to suspension and all those sorts of things. Unrest. We have for our members, we have groups where we tell them about unrest happening, and we have 3 groups. One deals with traffic accidents, general parlance. We call them incidents or crashes. There's one that refers to general unrest, what today in South Africa we blithely refer to as service delivery protest. The guys who deliver service are doing very well with it. And then we have the political protest. So we have 3 WhatsApp groups. This year so far, up to the end of May, this year so far, we have, on average, every single day in South Africa, 6 service delivery protests that can or may not turn violent. So sometimes the guys are quite lazy. They just roll a couple of rocks out on the road, and along comes the local metro or province and chit-chat, and after a couple of barrels of KFC, they move everything off the road. Everyone's happy, to the total extreme where we have violent service delivery protests. And the best way for many of these guys to out their whatevers is to grab a truck, because it's 22 meters long, park it across the road, you've blocked everything, and then to get the media there, we do one of 2 things. We say, like Barry Hilton, we want to see the minister now. No one wants to see ministers. No. And when that doesn't happen, you burn the truck, because that gets everyone there. 13 incidents every day of political unrest. And that's even before I bring in our good members, friends, not members, good friends, the ATDF-SA. I am worried, ladies and gents, about what's going to happen at midnight on the 30th of June. Because then, theoretically, every single foreigner has to be out by 12 o'clock that night. I'm really worried. I don't have a solution. And then, every single day in South Africa, there are 115 on average that have been, in this year, traffic crashes, accidents, from major to minor, reported ones. And I don't know how many of you have tried to go to a local police station and fill in the AR form, the accident report form. You need to have at least 2 weeks to fill that in. Enough liquor to keep you quiet and sane, and then to find a pen, and a legible one, at the police station, because it's been photostated so many times. But do you hear those figures? That's what's happening every single day. Our challenge is non-compliance. and the Minister of Transport was very, very clear and has listened to what we've said about non-compliant operators. Why do we have so many foreigners? Non-compliant operators. They don't want to pay them the basic minimum fee. And I'll use round figures because I don't want to be, all you oaks out there, don't quote me now on these figures, because some oaks are going to come back to me and say, but I don't pay that. So let's say the basic minimum wage, I'm going to use round figures, is 10,000 Rand a month. It is not, it is more than that. Let's say 10,000 Rand a month. We have non-compliant operators, those who are not registered with the Bargaining Council, not registered with SARS, not registered with the Department of Labor, don't pay UIF, etc., 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 who pay their drivers 3,000 Rand a month. Or the core reason for the Pongola crash, they pay their drivers per trip completed. The trip that that driver was on was 560 kilometers from the mine to the port of Richards Bay. 750 Rand. And then when you return, another 750 Rand. And they sell the story, well, if you do that every day, you'll earn far more than the 10,000 Rand a month. And we all know, what's the maximum speed for a vehicle over 16 tons? 120. 80. Try and do 80 as your average speed between the mines and to Richards Bay. You just can't do it. The roads, the topography, etc., etc., etc. So non-compliance is a huge issue. That's why I started off with saying safety is important. It's in all facets of your business. And sometimes the things that you do or don't do, might sound Irish now, Patrick, the things you do or don't do, impact upon your safety or lack thereof. We've had, in the last 4 months, 8 serious incidents involving trucks and buses, but we've had serious incidents involving trucks where they've killed more than 5 people. And it just fades into our memory because next week there's another one. And then next week there's another one. What's happened to those operators? They're still operating. I was at Patrick's a launch with Patrick last week and I really got upset. And he said to me, so Gav, what happened to the ABC operator? I don't want to mention names because there are a couple of court cases on the go. ABC operator that got their truck stuck somehow. And there was a bit of a... I said, Patrick, I don't know. We're going to need something like that again to galvanize somebody. And it happened last night on the N1 near Centurion, close to my house. I still heard the boom, and I said, yeah, the neighbor next door's dog is, or something. But nothing's happened. So we need to tighten up how and who we allow onto the roads. And I might be preaching to you, and some of you might not know, but we need to tighten up operator registration. We need to tighten up drivers, their skills, how they are evaluated, and their history. And there's huge pressure against this from various quarters. One of them is the unions. Technological, I'm using all of his minutes now. Technological advancements. We've got brilliant technology which streams data at the operator, the scheduler, the supervisor, call him or her what you would like, but we don't know how to use it. Telematics things today are wonderful. We saw a presentation at the conference where there's this new technology that can check when you're going to sleep, and when you're going to sleep, it warms up your seat. What does it do here? It warms up your seat, vibrates, and what have you. I'm a bit worried about that because if you've fallen asleep and your seat now vibrates, you're probably really going to cause an accident. No, I won't go down that route. But we don't know how to use it. More importantly, we need to pull that into driver training. Some of the stats I've got, I don't want to talk about stats, you've got stats, but 75% of all the vehicles that leave the N3 are single vehicle. Does that mean fatigue? And how do we deal with fatigue? So I'd like to close off with, when you vote for the next minister, vote for me. really three important things. Road safety, any safety, but this is about road safety. Road safety starts with you. And that's probably the most important thing that we must remember. When we go into our businesses, when we work with our families, when we interact, that road safety begins with you and I. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I've heard it so many times, and I use it at the RFA conference, and I think people are getting bored with it. You are the change. Don't wait for the change to come to you. You are the change. Your examples and the way in which you interact is the important thing. And the last thing is this, and I said it at an EWN interview yesterday. We need to start holding people who are appointed for various things like road safety accountable. Now that might mean the Minister of Transport, but it definitely means the provinces. I've done two things in the last 6 weeks to prove a point to the province we're in now. I registered a vehicle that wasn't even present at the test center. The chassis was in yo-high grass in the Northwest Province. Full COR. Done, finished. That vehicle can travel. I've just got to find a way to get it from there to here. Second thing, renewed PRDPs. Now, that's the only difference between our drivers and a driver of a light motor vehicle, the average driver. We have a thing called a professional driving permit. And before you can drive one of these large vehicles, you're supposed to go through a process which prepares you for what this vehicle does, can do, and the different types of effects. When you slam the brakes on, 70% of the vehicle says, it's all right, but you stay here, I'll overtake and carry on. I could buy those over the internet, as many as I wanted. And that we've raised with the Minister of Transport. And my parting shot to you is, I'm very, very comfortable with the new Minister of Transport. I'm very worried she's only got 18 months. Because we go into elections in 2024. And you know, about 5 years before an election, everyone starts electioneering like I'm doing right now. But we've got a Minister of Transport who is actually, unfortunately, has had a horrible experience of her own family being wiped out in a crash. And sometimes, and please, I wish that on none of you, but sometimes that is the little ding-a-ling-a-ling that will get some of our authorities to, I do not wish it on a family, they never did, to focus. And I think this Minister of Transport is going to make some changes, some big changes. Thank you for your time.
Gavin, you know, the one thing that you can be guaranteed when you're in the same room as Gavin, he's going to do his best to shock you. But I just want to share something. Patrick, Gavin said I can ask you this question. How do you confuse an Irishman? Give him 2 shovels and tell him to take his pick. Now, Gavin said I can use that, so please. All right. So, folks, what does this mean in reality, these Fleet Safety Awards? Does it change lives? Do organizations benefit? So we now have Jonathan Parke, who was last year's winner of the Fleet Safety Manager of the Year award. He has also won 2 Logistics Achiever awards in his career as a specialist, chain supply specialist. So let's give Jonathan the podium and let him share with you, because this is what we would like to see with other individuals as well. Jonathan.
Wow, I'm nervous, but I hope it's going to go well. Let's just stand, all of us right now. Let's just take a deep breath. You can sit back down. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here today. Story is told of a husband and a wife. They go to a petrol station. And as they're at the petrol station, they fill up, and the husband says to the petrol attendant, listen, man, this windscreen is dirty. Wipe it. The man wipes it. And he says, it's still dirty, wipe it. The man wipes it. He says, what is wrong with you? Are you stupid? You need to wipe it again. And the wife says, honey, let me take your glasses and wipe your glasses because you cannot see. Vision is what propels us to do right. And the vision we have about fleet safety is a vision that is personal. And for me, it is a vision about excellence. So I'm going to summarize a couple of these slides. Winning this momentous award, for me, said something. It says to the industry and it says to the public that fleet management is a science. When you're a fleet manager, there are many balls that you're juggling in the sky. It is a science. It is a subset of supply chain management and logistics. It is not the guy with the hammer kicking the tires or knocking the engine and thinking it's going to work while it's leaking oil. That is 1970 something. Doesn't exist anymore. Like I said, this is what it is. And for South Africa to become productive, at the RFA, they always spoke about that trucks is the lifeblood. It is the heart of the economy that drives this economy forward. And for this to happen, the fleet manager who is responsible for lives on the road needs to understand that the technological advancements of optics or whatever dash cam you have, of telematics, of fuel management, tire management, total cost of ownership, cents per kilometer, how to bring that across to stratify a picture that will enable us as fleet managers to make sure people go home safely. That is who we are. The impact of this award was tremendous. It highlighted for me a very personal touch because fleet managers, like I said, were people that were ignored. And I always say this, one of the COOs of my new company asked me, what is the difference that you see in companies? And I said to them, every company is part of supply chain management, every company is part of transportation. Whatever commodity you're transporting, you are part of supply chain management. And there are principles that are in there that must be adhered to. It said to me and it gave me this recognition. And like Eugene has said, so many times fleet managers, they're in warehouses, they are busy with chip pallets. That is a very wonderful thing to do and recon that account. It's wonderful. They're busy with all types of things, forklifts, and they don't get the recognition. And I thought to myself, what a tremendous initiative to recognize these men and women that go the extra mile, work so many hours because they want to get the individuals home to their children safely. I'm a member of the supply chain professional body, and I was interested and I saw them even recognizing this. And I said to myself, this is what we need, a focus on fleet management. I think, is it not working? Oh, there you go. So like I said, then it brings to the next step. Why should you enter these awards? First of all, is as the industry, just like RTQS or especially RTMS, the industry is standing up and the industry is saying, we are not going to accept just good enough. We're not going to just accept the mere basics. We want excellence in what we're doing. We want something that ensures not only do they get home safely, but like they said at the RFA convention, we keep pumping the blood into the economy. That is what we want. Fleet managers play a vital role. They must strive for excellence. And ultimately, we do the change, like Gavin has said, that was repeated at the conference. We become the change that facilitates the greater change. There is no need to be a victim and complain about anyone else and ESCOM or ISCOM or all of these things. We make the plans to make sure the economy keeps on running. And how we do that with innovation. We do that in rejecting the victimology. We have a problem in South Africa where people are victims. They're entitled. They think everything must be given to them. But in supply chain and logistics, we don't have that comfort. Things must still happen. And this is what we strive for. Ultimately, what we do as fleet managers, and why you should enter these awards and benchmark yourself and say, I want to be the best. I don't want to just settle for good enough. I don't want to settle for mediocrity. I do not want to settle for just compliance. Because people feel proud when they comply. What about excellence? The call is excellence, not compliance only. It is ultimately about the people. This picture here in the bottom is actually at the old Master Drive offices. And it is a commitment that we had in the previous organization to say that we want to upskill our drivers. Our drivers have horrible conditions. They strive to do what they want to do, but we need to upskill them. And we as fleet management, we provide the tools. We make sure those tools help and augment the driver. One of the things I remember wanting to do with one manager who didn't listen, there are many of those, I said, brother, we're going to go on a trip and you must get inside the taut liner that you are not servicing. And I'm going to travel with you to Durban. Magically, all the services were done. Magically, the trucks were compliant. Magically, they looked clean. Because I said to him, you need to understand that's a human being. It's not a toy. And that's what we do. We help those individuals. When I was at Unitrans, we used to have a saying, safety is not negotiable. It is absolutely not negotiable. We have to strive for the excellence that we do. One of the 4 pillars of RTMS, it talks about driver wellness. It talks about looking after their hours. It talks about the quality and how we service the vehicles. It's not just the cost benefit. This is human lives. And as we do that, as we take care of the human lives, they are able to take care of us. They're able to keep the commodities going. They're able to keep the economy going. Ultimately, we're chasing legacy. For me, fleet management, and I wanted to get to this because I know I can take forever. For me, fleet management is a calling. For me, fleet management, it is absolutely personal. It is not just a vocation. It is not just a job. It is absolutely fundamental. My father was a truck driver for 47 years. I am the child that waited hours on end, refused to sleep, thinking, is my father coming home today? And the trust on the fleet managers, the fleet controllers, and all the people who are involved to make those conditions right so that he can come home. I thank them because it gave me precious hours to spend with him. Didn't spend a lot of time with him, but he is the inspiration. He used to say, if you cut us, diesel will come out. Now with the diesel price, that will be, that would be wonderful, but we'll get hijacked. But so it is fundamental. It is something that I hold dear and near. And as I said, one of the things that my father said to me is that, Jonathan, listen, we come from the East Rand. We might be poor. We might be seen and classed in a different way. But you know what? You're not a victim. You're a victor. You're an overcomer. And you can do the very best you can in life to have a purpose. Fleet management companies, fleet managers, we are not working. We have a purpose. We have a direction. And that direction is to make sure other Edward Mpakes get home to their children. When I wrote the submission for last year's award, I kept repeating it over and over and over and over again. My, not job, my responsibility, my calling, my mission in life is to get that father, to get that mother back home safe again. I think that's it. Thank you very much for allowing me to present. Thank you, Eugene and Master Drive, for the opportunity.
Can you imagine we had a few hundred of guys like that, eh? It would certainly make a world of difference. Don't you like his passion? Sounded like a Baptist minister, you know. Okay. So, folks, let's just move on. I just want to see where we are there. Okay, let's just stop there for a moment. You can appreciate what we're looking for when we give a fleet manager who's responsible for safety something that will make a difference in their lives, not only in terms of financial benefits, and I'll share that with you in a moment, but also what they bring to their company. And remember, we're doing this against a backdrop of roads that are not sustainable. They damage the vehicles that travel on them. Vehicles that are not roadworthy, and Patrick will attest to that to a significant degree. I think, Anton, the figure last time, in general, 67% of vehicles on the road are not insured. Is that a fair statement? Okay. So however we manage that can have an impact on you and I. And statistically, the last number I saw, there are about 50% of driver's licenses, and I don't know about PRDPs, are fraudulent. They're legal, but fraudulent. So every second driver that we encounter on the road probably has less than minimum skills in order to be on the road. And they see that piece of paper that they get as a right to drive. Whereas when you get that paper, you accept responsibility. And therefore, when we looked at this, it's fleets, it's organizations, corporates that buy into a value system that we see. And what we seek to do, you heard Jenny from Castrol talk about that, and that's the encouraging thing to see. We can be put off by all the negative concepts, beliefs, and whatever else, but there are those who are committed. And I'd like to share with you, it's a quote, and it's in this context. You know, I hear you when government puts up signs, don't drink and drive, or they have flying behind a plane, that same message, that mantra, not realizing that the person who's going to take their eyes off the road is going to ride into a car in front of them. So sometimes I feel, and this is my personal feeling, that we don't reflect accurately what is needed. So listen to this quote. This is by Alan Quilley. He's a thought provoker and a change agent. It says, let's manage safety recognizing how humans are, and stop managing safety by the way we wish humans were. Let's listen to that again. Let's manage safety, recognizing how humans are, and stop managing safety the way we wish humans were. So if we wish they didn't drink and drive, does that help? Anton mentioned, if you have a look at our website, you'll see there's a pledge that we shared publicly, don't drink and drive, and organizations to accept that responsibility. For example, we were with one of our clients the other day. It's a drinks company. Staff are welcome to drink, but they then take a ride, a service home or something like that. So we're not against drinking, but we don't combine the two because that would be totally inappropriate. Why do we recognize individuals and want to give them something in recognition for the work that they do? Can we just pick up there, guys? I want to read you this quote, and it's from an organization called NRSPP, National Road Safety Partnership Program, associated with Monash University in Australia. And we were talking about the power of incentives in improving workplace road safety. If you want a copy of the survey, it's 20 pages. I will happily share it with you. But notice one of the points they make. The power of incentives in improving workplace road safety is a discussion paper, the effectiveness of incentives measures to motivate the behavioral change within fleet drivers, towards safer driving practices. So in looking at putting these fleet safety awards together, we determined that there should be a scientific approach. And when you read evidence such as that, you'll appreciate why we have put a monetary value to it. So let's just walk through the new program for 2023. And one moment. Yeah? Okay, well, I'll carry on talking. So remember last year we did Fleet Safety Manager. And the fact is, in many instances, as in Jonathan's case, it's the fleet manager that manages safety. But some dedicated organizations, whether it falls under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and as a result, it's run through the individuals who care for the SHEC management portfolio. And as a result of that, when we start looking here at the fleet manager, we want to give them something because they, in many instances, support the documentation that the company processes. And you'll see how we recognize them. So let's have a look at what we're going to be doing this year. Let's just talk about the category, what the criteria is. Still not going, guys. Oh, there we are. The leader of an organization that is committed to implementing the safety measures and policies of their organization and going above and beyond to create a team of drivers committed to road safety. You'll notice last year, I think we gave away 10,000 Rand. There will be different categories this year. We're looking at a medium commercial vehicle, heavy commercial vehicle, and light commercial vehicle, because many of them operate in towns, so we don't want to prejudice those. We've attached a value for those finalists. They will each receive 10,000 Rand for having got there. The winner effectively gets 40,000 Rand. We're still looking at other ways that we can incentivize those people. All of those individuals that participate in that, and I'll share another category in a moment, will receive a training on a fleet management course. And Johan is here if you want him to tell you about it. Because we believe if we train a fleet manager correctly, he's got a better likelihood of implementing the policies if he now understands them. So that's category one, the best fleet manager. The next one is the organization. Now, you will recall, and the person that we recognized in recognition of the award we gave last year, Philip Hull, is here. It was called the Philip Hull Road Safety Steering Award. Again, there will be organizational categories, and what we're going to do is to establish those organizations. Jonathan mentioned RTMS. Yes, they are, but in many instances, we want to be sure that they're better than that. So they will each, there will be three categories. There will be a finalist in the light commercial vehicle category, medium, and then heavy as well. And then there will be an overall winner. Now, what is different about this year is that we're introducing some other categories. And those categories are going to be a road warrior. And at this point, I'd like you to be fully conscious of the fact this is not in competition with Hollard's Highway Heroes. Please understand that, so don't even mention that. In fact, we also running fleet safety awards for the bus industry under the direction or on behalf of Saboa. They are partnered with Hollard as well. But remember, that is they recognizing driving excellence as measured by various systems, etc. Our focus for the road warrior, and look at that definition, and it'll maybe help you understand what we want to do. There are people out there as part of their job or in the process of getting to their job. They are going to do things that we want to see represent safety. So there will be, again, three categories. We want to see a finalist, 5,000 Rand each, and then the winner then gets 15,000. So effectively, he gets 20,000 Rand that we're attaching to that. We believe that if we can incentivize those people, how far will it go to adding another pair of shoes for their family, or paying for the electricity, if you can get it, and a number of other things. Another two categories that we've included at the specific request of Santam, and this makes a whole lot of sense because our drivers are out there on the road. Where do they stay? Where can we recommend that they will get a good hot meal, decent facilities to shower and change or whatever? So we were looking at that, the best truck stop, and that is nominated by the drivers who are traveling those roads. We will formulate a recognition for them, and depending on where they are, we will invite them to be present with us. And then please, I just ask you to read the copy there as the employer. An employee will put their vote forward for an organization that equips them with everything necessary to be the safest drivers on the road. So for those who aspire to ensuring that their drivers get home safely, we hope that you'll be there. By the way, the statistic that I had for fatigue in terms of crashes, accidents, or collisions is about 62%. And we realize how vulnerable our drivers are. So with that, let's take you through and show you how the system is going to work. How do you enter these fleet safety awards? Whether you're eligible or not, I don't know, but we've made it as easy as possible. If you go to our website as of today, one of the rolling banners you will see over there, it's going to be headed 2023 Annual Fleet Safety Awards. Sign up or log in, and I'll explain why there's a login over there. So they will access that on our website. It's easy. It will go into the back end, and that's what you will then see. If you've signed up, you will then get a message, an email confirming that you've signed up and that you are now on the system. By the time we get to the second round, and it's important that you see what we see over here, you may decide that you want to enter one of those categories. So we've given you the 5 categories that we're looking at. You could enter for the company, and you could enter as an individual. You could enter as the road warrior, or somebody could be nominated as the road warrior. Clicking on one of those will take you through to a set of questions, and I'll show you those questions in a moment. And it will ask you if you want to enter another category. So it's totally free. There's no other responsibility than the time it takes you to enter this. And if you have a look over there, you'll see once you've hit the submit button, that's just to get people on the system. I don't know about you, but I hate completing questionnaires. It'll only take you 5 minutes, sir, but it takes you 15 minutes. That's the sum total of the questions that we get them to answer to be in phase 1. If they follow through, there's certain minimum criteria that we have that will determine whether or not they can go through to phase 2. If they do qualify, they will then get a follow-up message to advise them that they must enter again, and that's where there will be a login facility so that they can go back again and they now carry on the process. With that in mind, we recognize that we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't as a result of partners like Santam and Kestrel, and the others over there that you mentioned, because collectively, whether it's by word of mouth, whether it's in publications such as FleetWatch, or as a result of an insurance broker wanting his fleet to be better, to improve their loss ratios, we recognize that it's important that everyone plays a role in delivering a higher standard of driving on our roads. So with that in mind, I'd just like to leave that up there for a moment. If we can just go back and leave those partners up with us, please. Any questions that you'd like me to answer on how, where, why, and what for? Patrick, you stunned me with your silence. Is it so good? Okay. Okay, folks, we'll be around. Please, okay, can you take it from here? There's a press release that will go out to the media. Sam will mail it out, advising what the process is. So please, and it's almost, I beg of you, if you want to play a small part in road safety, share this with your contacts. Don't you determine whether they qualify or not. Let us determine. That way you'll keep your neck safe, all right? So folks, on behalf of Master Drive, our team at the back there, Nashani, Lauren, Sam, Costa, Mo, and everybody else who's with us here today, we say thank you for being here. The event will take place at Automechanica. So we have Tracy here who's the show director for Automechanica. We will be doing the actual awards then. So we trust that many of you will join us again. We will also be running the Saboa Fleet Safety Awards, and I invite you to come and share in a conference that we'll run there as well, the theme of which is driving excellence. But in the meantime, we probably will see you at other events. And with that, I wish you a safe drive home. Thank you. Through to the judges. If the judges have got any questions, by the way, if you saw the timeline, and we've got some fairly prestigious individuals who have an interest in road safety, they will then highlight if necessary. There will be provision to provide supporting documentation. For example, if it's telematics reports, we will be able to do that. The truck stop, depending on where it is, there will be a physical inspection.